sailing season, there's this constant battle between me as the skipper at Pip Hare Ocean Racing and my technical director. I want to do as much sailing as I possibly can. Joff wants to keep the boat on the dock so that he can work on making it as reliable and as slick as he possibly can. Over the winter, that's kind of the natural period really, because of the short days and the inconsistent weather, when Joff really can have the boat to himself. And so for the last 3 months, Medallia's been in the shed here at Endeavour Quays, and we've been working hard to make it as good as possible for the season ahead. The work's been a lot around making small improvements. The new technical team have been getting to know the boat, and we've really focused on reliability. But today is the day where we start the handover. Medallia's ready to come out of the shed, and I'm ready to get my boat back. The attention to detail and the hours of, quite frankly, hard graft that go into preparing a boat like this for international racing is immense. And one of the details that we kind of don't really ever see, but I very much appreciate, is how we prepare the bottom of the boat. So we have to put anti-fouling paint on the bottom of the boat. That paint itself is quite rough. And so in order to make the boat as fast and as slippery as possible, the paint goes on, and then it has to be sanded back to a smooth finish. And if you just kind of take into account the vast area that is under the water on this boat, all of this has been sanded back, and it feels incredible. There's such a lot of work gone into this. It's slippery, it's fast, and I very much appreciate it. So now is an ideal time for us to get on board and have a look at the work that's been done inside the cabin over this winter. Everyone's at lunch, so I've had a bit of a chance to come down here and just kind of have a poke around at some of the new shiny stuff we've got on board. So shiniest perhaps is the engine, which only went in the day before yesterday. It's kind of one of those things where the engine does so little on the boat, because actually you can't drive this boat very fast under engine, but when you need it, you really, really need it to work. So although it sort of hurts a bit spending money on an engine on a sailing boat, bearing in mind the fact the last one had been around the world a couple of times, we really needed to replace this. It went in reasonably okay. It was a like-for-like exchange, but not everything was exactly the same, so the team have had to do a little bit of shuffling around to get it to fit. Final bits to do are just to connect up the exhaust system and also the gear lever. Because the cockpit is huge and I need to be able to manage the boat on my own from the cockpit, we can't have a conventional Morse control system to drive the gears, so instead we use these bits of string here, which go out on deck. I can take them to anywhere around the cockpit, and they attach to this extended gear lever on the gearbox here and allow me to put the boat in forward and reverse. And Will has lovingly painted these two Dyneema cores, one green and one red, so that it's easy for me to work out whether I'm putting the engine in forwards or reverse. I guess it will be green for forwards and red for reverse. I think it probably has to be now, I've just decided that. One of the major pieces of work that we did over the winter was to rethink the power system on the boat. The boat is slightly complicated in the fact that it runs a system that uses 12 volts to start the engine, 24 volt to run the main system on the boat, and previously we had 48 volt charging system as well. The batteries were originally housed under here, which both Joff and I really thought was an area of high risk, because they're right underneath the companionway, and if the cockpit got flooded, it would just be a matter of seconds before the batteries were also flooded. So we decided we were going to move the batteries, and we've built a new battery box here with 2 removable lids. And we've also changed the system so that we have 2 12-volt batteries in the engine bay there for starting the engine, and then there is a bank of 24-volt batteries over here, and then the capacitor for moving the keel hydraulics is just in this next box here. I'm really pleased with the work that's gone on. Everything is just really neat and obvious, and for me, when I'm tired and you know, challenged when the boat's being thrown around a lot, it's quite easy just to look in here and understand the system, the layout, and what I need to do at any given time. And it's not without consequence that we do something like this, because the boat is so light, it weighs just over 7 tons, and the battery bank and the capacitor actually make up a considerable portion of that weight. So anytime that we're moving it off the centre line or moving it further forwards, then that is inevitably going to have a small impact on the boat's performance. But we've thought it all out, we've worked out how we can balance this out by putting weight on the other side of the boat. And in general, in the overall equation of performance, reliability, and my ease of use, we kind of decided that it was okay, and actually, you know, we're better off having a reliable, good system that works here than having a risk there. One of the things I'm super proud of with this campaign is our technical partnerships, because they're a two-way street. You know, we get a lot from our technical partners. They provide us with incredible kit with which I'm going to sail around the world, but also they want to hear from us, so I get to do regular kit reviews. I tell them about my experience of using the kit, and so I feel that we're genuinely feeding back into the marine industry and helping things develop. Over the winter we signed as ambassadors for B&G, which is amazing, and over the next 3 years we'll be slowly going through all the electronics on the boat, upgrading things, installing new screens, upgrading the pilot. This refit we focused mostly on screens. I was struggling a little bit with some very small screens which tended to be really loaded up with numbers. It was quite hard to read and quite hard to see from across the boat. So we've installed a big screen up here. This is a Zeus, and this is going to have my radar on it permanently as a standalone. Previously the radar was on the PC and I had to swap between programs to see it. But when the radar's up here, I can be asleep, I can be anywhere in the boat, and just kind of the alarms will go off, or I can casually glance up and I'll see it all the time. And this is the Nemesis. The great thing about this is how configurable it is. It's a big screen. I can change the format of the numbers, the type of data and the size of them, and even the colours that are up there. So it really grabs my attention, and my brain is automatically onto the piece of information that's most important in a given moment. When the boat goes in the water, we're going to have a couple of weeks to work all the systems up, turn everything on, make sure it works. But then once we've done that, I get to go sailing, and I need to figure out how I'm going to live in this environment. I didn't spend a huge amount of time offshore overnight last year, so I kind of didn't really get into a rhythm or a routine, and I don't have a feel for how I live on here. But we have changed a few things. So for example, we've filled this space up here so I can no longer put a beanbag here and sleep here. And previously I had a sort of little kitchenette unit, which wasn't quite that much, over there, and that was where I did my food preparation and actually where I got my drinking water. Now all of that has moved, and so I need to figure out, you know, the basics of daily life, where it's comfortable to do all of these things, and that's kind of going to be part of my mission for the first month really afloat. The team have had a whiz round this morning, taking all the deck coverings off and then removing all the rubbish and the tools and the extra bits and bobs that were in there, ready to move the boat. So let's not hang around anymore. Let's open this door. We made it outside. It's freezing cold. It hailed on us. I'm wondering whether it might be better inside actually. The last step of the day was going to be picking the boat up and weighing it. We're going to weigh all the individual components. But unfortunately the crane has other ideas. It's developed a fault with its weighing mechanism. So that's the end of the day for us. Hopefully everything will be resolved tomorrow morning. We'll hit the ground running, foils in, up on the keel. Time for the weekend. The sun has come out for us today. The crane is fixed and it's time to start putting this boat back together. Now these bits, getting the foils in, getting the keel on, these are the bits that they either go really smoothly or they fight you really badly. So fingers crossed we're going to be winners and the boat will all be back together by the end of today. For me, it's all starting to feel normal again, being back here in the cockpit. This is my normal, this is where I belong, and the last 3 months I've been a bit of a fish out of water, so it's great that everything's coming together. I'm so much closer to going sailing and that's a good feeling. We've completed our weigh-in, the moment of truth to find out if we put on weight over the winter, and it looks like we haven't, which is great. The boat weighs in at just over 4 tons with the foils in. So without the foils, it's about 3.8 tons. And I'm constantly amazed at how light this boat is. I mean, it's so big and it's so powerful, yet it weighs so little. It is just, a marvel of engineering. So I've looked up some fun facts about what else weighs 4 tons. A southern elephant seal, 2 bites of a hippo's lunch, and 4 tons is the amount of krill that an adult blue whale needs to eat in a whole day. Nearly at the end of a very long day. Everyone else has gone home. It's so funny here when all the way through the day there's so much noise going on. There's all this machinery and pressure washing and cranes, and then 4 o'clock on a Friday, ghost town, we're the only people here. Boat hasn't been fighting us too much. There's a couple of niggly little bolts that we're still trying to get in. We launch first thing on Monday, so a few members of the team are going to come in over the weekend and attach the final little bits and get the pin through the rams on the head of the keel. But it's been a really good, productive day, and we're so close to go back in the water, back in our natural environment.